Yeah, I think the first thing that I would like to talk about is to have a purpose, right? And having a purpose, I think, is important both professionally and personally as well. So what do I mean by it? At work, for example, whether it is for a brand or whether it is for a department or indeed for the whole organization, it's about having a vision, setting the agenda, and more importantly, taking people along with you. And I found that clearly articulating that right at the beginning tremendously helps in galvanizing the organization or the team or the department and really moving forward on that agenda. Sure, let me give you an example from my stint as the managing director of PVM Bangladesh actually. So when I took on that role, Bangladesh was in a bit of a soft kind of situation in terms of the growth for the company, etc. And we were a number 2 player there with a strong number 1 player who was a local player, right? So one of the things we said was, we first said, let's sit down and see what is the vision that we want to achieve for PVM Bangladesh. And the vision we came up was to be the largest and the most loved confectionery company in Bangladesh, right? So then we sat down and say, what does it take to be that, right? And we had an offsite where we listed out various things or various elements of that whole working towards that vision, put down specific action points in terms of a very strong commercial plan, which involved sales, marketing, trade marketing, so that whatever debates and discussions you want to have, you have at that point of time. But when you leave that room, you go with an aligned view of what you want to do. And then we worked on it for 2 years, and we were at a 25 share to the competitor, the leader at 40, and in 2 years we were 41 to the competition going down to 35, and we became a market leader. So I think that is an example of how getting people to align on a vision, setting the agenda and taking them through with you helps in achieving the vision. So not everybody might understand the vision the way it is articulated at the top. So you need to break it up so that people understand what are the different elements of it, and more importantly, what role do they play in the achieving of the vision. I think that's very, very important, such that each person in different departments get the role that they can play to build towards the larger thought that we have. And of course, if you take it to the next level, I think it's about also making a meaningful difference to the community at large. So through the corporate social responsibility programs, where you can layer on an element of how can I also help the community from an organization point of view. I think that is something also which really relates to the employees at a very fundamental level. And at a very personal level, I started writing my personal mission statement about a few years ago. And what it does is, while it's still a work in progress kind of a document, it allows me to make some choices in terms of what I would like to go after and what I would not like to go after. So again, that's something I believe is very important. So one of the things or one element of that personal mission statement is for me to impact the community or the people who I come in touch with, right? So from there arose this thing of every year I make a calendar and raise money to contribute for charity, which I've been doing for the last 8 years. Or the initiative that we started around My Daughter is Precious, where we try to support child education and see them through high school and graduation. The second one which I'd like to talk about is to really have a passion in life. Now, why do you need a passion? What happens is, through the day, you go through a lot of stuff which sucks out your energy, right? So bad meetings, negative experiences, bad conversations, etc. And you really need to replenish in a periodic manner and actually restore the balance. I think that's where passion comes into the picture. So for me, I have several passions. Some of them are photography, fitness and travel. So what do? I try and go out on a occasional photo trip where it's just me and my camera. I go to some interesting places, get some very interesting experiences, and of course, hopefully some good pictures along as well. Now, fitness is another passion, and that is something that I try to do on a daily basis, because I strongly believe that there is a massive connection between mind, body and soul, and that really helps me to keep the balance going in terms of physical, mental and emotional fitness. Travel is another passion, again linked a little bit to the photography as well, but again this really helps me to explore. The third piece I would really like to talk about is how I invest in people, right? Now, as a leader, as a manager, of course you have to invest in people, but I think for me it goes beyond that, right? I think investing in people and enabling them to grow is a great way to leave a legacy, right? So it's about making sure that you work with the people, understand what they are looking for, identify their strength, opportunities, etc., and really work with them to grow them. So somewhere I really believe in this 70-20-10 principle of helping people to grow in their jobs, right? I mean, if I think of the very interesting quote that I came across, which is that a good leader is one who inspires confidence of his team in him or her, right? But a great leader is one who inspires the confidence of the team in themselves. So if you can build your team in such a way that they can work independently, I think nothing like it, right? So I'm a firm believer of that, and I try and see how I can do that, right? So when a brand manager of 14 years ago calls me for advice or shares his or her success in their career, it's a testimony to the, the relationship that we have built and the work that has gone on to it. I think other than that, what I also try and do is I'm passionate about mentoring. So I mentor people both in the organization and outside of the organization. And while you might think mentoring is of course to the benefit of the mentee to help them grow and find their own answers, I think it's been a great learning experience for me personally, because for example, outside of office, I mentor a few women, and you get a completely different perspective of the way they see things in the organization, which I would never get from a male colleague, right? And that helps me broaden my own perspective and make sure that I keep that in mind the next time I'm encountered with a similar situation. So I would say these are probably 3 behaviors which I try to imbibe in my daily life.